You're listening to Packers Talk Network.
Packers Talk.
You're listening to No Huddle Radio on the Packers Talk Radio Network, your home for in-depth and thoughtful Packers analysis. I'm your host, Gil Martin. My co-host is my good friend, Sean Teahan. In addition to this show, I write for the PackersPost.com and Cheesehead TV, and Sean was a TV sportscaster in Minnesota. We're here to talk Packers because you're all here for one thing, and that's a love for Green Bay football. Sean, we are right about smack in the middle of this season right now.
We are, and it's going to be nice to be home. And you know who's got you covered if you want to see them play the Packers at Lambeau Field? Well, that's our sponsor, Wisconsin's own Ticket King. For more than 30 years, they've been providing Packers tickets to Packer fans, as well as Bucks, Brewers, and Summerfest tickets. Find them on the web at theticketking.com. That's theticketking.com. If you're watching us on YouTube today, thank you so much. You can see the link right there on your screen, theticketking.com, or you can visit their locations in Green Bay and Milwaukee. And you can watch every episode of No Huddle Radio on Packers Talk Network on YouTube with Gil and myself. You just go to YouTube, you type in Packers Talk Network in the search bar, click on the PackersTalk.com link with the green background and the yellow goalpost. Click on the bell, subscribe, turn the notifications on, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your enemies. You can join the discussion and chat with us live. If you want to just argue with us too, you can just yell at us too. I don't care. You know, it's like, hey, we want community.
All caps? You're letting them do all caps?
Yeah, we don't want super negative, but we want people to feel comfortable voicing their opinion.
Absolutely.
And I will say, Gil, after Sunday's really, really superb second half in the Steel City, a place where the Packers haven't won since 1970 until now, where they come out of Pittsburgh with a 35-25 win. Really, it was a dominant second half performance that catapulted them to the win. Jordan Love was amazing. He tied a franchise record, completing 20 straight passes in the second half, where the dude was on fire. He made some terrific throws. He made terrific decisions with the football. And it just really seems like he's taken another step in his third year as the starter. Gil, I got to ask you, because the Packers own the best record in the NFC right now. It's usually a good recipe if you want to win the MVP. Can Jordan Love win the NFL MVP award this year?
He can. I don't think he's getting enough recognition so far. You know, it's almost ironic, right? Matt LaFleur takes over as head coach, leads the Packers to back-to-back NFC championship games. The first year especially, nobody expected the team to be that good. Oh, you know, we can't give him consideration for coach of the year because it's all on Aaron Rodgers.
Yep.
Well, now Jordan Love is balling out. He's playing really well. Oh, you know, it's all Matt LaFleur. He schemes these people open, and we can't really give Jordan Love credit for everything he's accomplishing. We'll make up your minds, people. You know, give these guys credit for what they're accomplishing. And Jordan Love is playing at an unbelievably high level as of right now. And you look at his numbers for the season. I mean, he's got 13 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Mm-hmm. The yards per attempt is 8.4, and his quarterback rating is 112.8. Not too shabby for a guy, you know, and he doesn't have necessarily a go-to number one receiver either.
Yeah, and with Love, too, you mentioned those numbers, or passer rating, he's fourth in the NFL amongst quarterbacks at the minimum of 100 passing attempts this year with a 112.8 passer rating. TD passes, he's tied for 11th in the league right now, despite playing one fewer game than a lot of the teams because of the bye week. He's 7th in the NFL amongst quarterbacks with a minimum of 100 passing attempts in yards per game. He's 4th in the NFL in completion percentage, completing 70.9% of his passes amongst quarterbacks with a minimum of 100 pass attempts as well. So he's really put together a nice season. And he was 29 for 37 in Pittsburgh. 78% of his passes, that's 78.4% of his passes were completed. Second best single game percentage of his career behind the 2023 regular season finale against Chicago, where he completed 84.4% of his passes in that finale. He threw for 360 yards, is the second most of his career in a game. A single game career best pass rating of 134.2. He's putting together some really good numbers, Gil, and it seems like he's kind of like where last year Josh Jacobs was the offense, you felt like. But I even felt like the Packers had a few drops on Sunday too, where Jordan Love could have had a higher completion percentage than he did. He was really that dialed in and that he was that sharp on Sunday. And it was by far the best performance he's had this season, but he's been overall really good this season.
He has. I mean, you mentioned the drops. There were 3 that I counted in the first half. One by Romeo Doubs, one by Tucker Kraft, and I forget who the third one was, but there were 3 very catchable passes, and those would have kept drives alive. And, the consecutive completions streak could have been more than 20, but no complaints. If you add those 3, if they catch even 2 of those 3, he's over 80% for the completion percentage for the game.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, though, where I think with Jordan Love, though, it's like I think he can win MVP too, Gil. I really do, where MVP, if it's become a quarterback award, because honestly, right now, I think the MVP is probably Jonathan Taylor in Indianapolis because he's had such a monstrous year and they have the best record in football. But if Christian McCaffrey didn't win it a couple of years ago, Jonathan Taylor's not going to win it this year. He's just not. It's an award that's now for the quarterback, for the best quarterback on the best team. But with Jordan Love, though, Gil, I mean, who else do you consider maybe for MVP right now? Maybe Josh Allen, last year's MVP, and then Jalen Hurts probably in Philadelphia. Baker Mayfield is kind of in that mix too.
Baker Mayfield. Look, Mahomes is always going to get votes.
Jared Goff, Patrick Mahomes, but how does Love fit into that top 5 if you're looking at it right now?
I would say he's top 3 right now for sure. And it just becomes, look, it'll get harder. The schedule is harder in the second half. The weather isn't as good in the second half. You're quarterbacking the Rams or the Lions. You're either in nice weather or a dome most of your games. You're quarterbacking in Green Bay. You've got to deal with the wind and the rain and the snow at Lambeau Field in November and December and hopefully January. But right now, Jordan Love is right there. And I just hope that the national media and the fans sort of catch up to, what he's accomplished so far, because they don't seem to be recognizing it quite as much as they should be.
It's crazy, Gil, because Toyotathon hasn't even started yet.
That's right.
And Jordan Love is so good during Toyotathon. Toyotathon begins November 15th this year. So we're looking a couple weeks from Sunday where if Jordan Love, if he holds serve and Toyotathon proves to be a real thing where he plays his best football during Toyotathon, yeah, his stock's going to just go through the roof. I mean, it's going to go out of this screen and through my ceiling, Gil. I mean, if his best football is still ahead of him, his odds are significant. I don't know. I'm not advising to bet on him, but I'm saying may not be a bad idea to put some money on it.
And look, he doesn't have the bye during Toyotathon this year either. Last year it was, so that helps.
Yeah, and he had a rough start last year, and I think a lot of it had to do with the injury in Brazil too. And you could tell where I think the biggest thing with his growth right now, remember this offseason, we were debating, can you depend on him as a franchise quarterback? I think those questions are, as long as he keeps this going and just keeps progressing, I think that question gets put to bed in a heartbeat, because you're seeing other quarterbacks who have gotten paid over the last few years too around Jordan Love's contract, where Dak Prescott looks to be the guy in Dallas for sure, but there's a lot of questions with Tua Tagovailoa in Miami. There's a lot of questions with Kyler Murray in Arizona. There's a lot of questions with Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville too. And I think Jordan Love firmly has cemented himself as the franchise quarterback for a long time. And you hope the thing is, what I loved when Aaron Rodgers was in Green Bay was every contract he got, he essentially outplayed his contract. He really did. And Jordan Love, it seems like it's trending that direction, but obviously I don't want to put the cart before the horse just yet. But it's trending in the right direction for sure. And I'm really excited for the future at quarterback for the Green Bay Packers.
No complaints whatsoever. I mean, he's doing it with a running game that has been hot and cold, more cold than hot, really. And I'm not blaming Josh Jacobs for that necessarily, but the running game has not been what it was a year ago. That's for sure.
And just imagine if the running game does get back to where it was and what we know it's capable of. It's only going to help Jordan Love even more. I mean, Jordan Love, they're scoring more, they're more explosive right now, and they're leaning more heavily on him. Not in the red zone. Josh Jacobs is your guy, and he's been dealing with some injury too, so I'm going to cut Josh Jacobs some slack too. But Josh Jacobs is a great red zone runner. He's a great goal line runner, but they've really relied heavily on Jordan Love's arm, and he's been up to the task so far. 5-1-1, and he's playing really good football. You can't complain about that, Gil.
No, can't complain. And now he's got Christian Watson back. Hopefully Jaden Reed comes back at some point. Wicks could come back at some point soon. He doesn't even have all his weapons. So it's been a very impressive first half of the season for Jordan Love.
Well, speaking of the receiver group, it seems like that's a position that's getting a little full. The cupboard's getting a little full. We may have to take some mugs out, send it to Goodwill or whatever, sell it on Facebook Marketplace, whatever it may be. And the NFL trade deadline's coming up. And there's obviously a lot of discussion all the time. We're less than a week until the trade deadline, which is on Tuesday, November 4th in the afternoon, regarding who gets moved, who doesn't get moved. And the Packers, the last couple of years, they've made some deadline moves, not trading for players, trading away players. They traded away Rasul Douglas in 2023. They traded away Preston Smith last year at the deadline. But the Packers, they obviously they're defying what they tend to do, where they traded for Micah Parsons right before the season, trade a lot of capital for a guy like that. It's proven to be a very good trade for the Green Bay Packers from the get-go. But now the question is, Gil, whether it's trading away a player or trading for a player, should the Packers make a trade this year at the deadline?
Wow. My inclination is no. I think there are a lot of people who say we need a cornerback, and I get it. And I'm not saying we couldn't use one. I'm just sort of weighing who might be available and what it would cost, and saying that there probably isn't a significant difference maker out there who would be available at the trade deadline. They could add a depth piece.
Yeah.
If you want to trade away like a 6th or 7th round pick, if you really think that it's worth it, but you're not going to get someone who's going to replace your top 3 at this point. And so I just don't know if it's worth, trading for a player at that position. Could they trade away one of the depth receivers? That could make sense. We don't have a 1st round pick in the next 2 drafts. So even if we're just adding a 2nd or 3rd round pick, there's value there. And we do, if everybody's healthy, have a lot of depth at the position. So that to me would make more sense unless you find the right person for the right price at cornerback, which I just don't think is going to be there.
I think Brian Gutekunst has shown in the past, he's kind of shown what he prefers to do at the deadline, where if he's trading for someone, he's not giving up better than a day 3 pick. Right. That was the whole, remember a few years ago where we thought Will Fuller was coming to Green Bay, but the Texans wanted a 3rd round pick. Packers only wanted to give him a 4th round pick. It proved to be very smart for the Packers that they didn't make that trade and didn't cave right there. Chase Claypool, they offered a lot of capital for. Thankfully, the Bears stepped in front of that and dodged that for the Packers. Thank you, Chicago. I can't believe I'm saying that. But it seems like when they trade for a player, they don't want to give up a day 3 pick. And if they trade away a player, they want to get at worst a day 2 pick.
Right.
Unless it's a guy like a Preston Smith, who that was clearly a salary dump last year, and they wanted to get someone in return. He wasn't going to be back after last season regardless. And he demanded to trade out too, unbeknownst to us until the trade actually happened. But when they traded Rasul Douglas away, I don't think they were looking to trade Rasul Douglas, but Buffalo's like, hey, we'll give you a 3rd round pick. And Gutekunst's like, yep, that's great value. We're going to take that. And that still yet to be determined if that's a good deal or not. But you look at guys who the Packers could trade away just to start there. And Romeo Doubs has been floated because he's in a contract year. Luke Musgrave, he just hasn't really been used. But I think limited depth at tight end, he stays put for now. Kingsley Enagbare, also in a contract year. Sean Ryan, who's also in a contract year. Rasheed Walker, too. And then Dontavian Wicks as well. But, Gil, I do think with those guys, especially with like a guy like Romeo Doubs, if someone offers a 3rd or a 2nd round pick for Romeo Doubs, I think Brian Gutekunst takes that deal. I think it'd be very hard, but I think that's something where Brian Gutekunst would be like, you know what, with Watson back, with Jaden Reed come back soon, maybe they make that deal. I wouldn't want to do it because he's the most reliable red zone target for Jordan Love, but I don't know.
I just love the chemistry that he has with Jordan Love. And if your goal is to win a Super Bowl this year, if you're all in, if you put all the chips on the table, you don't trade Romeo Doubs. I could see trading Wicks more than
I
Doubs because of the role that he, has and the skill set that he has. There are more guys who have similar skill sets, I think, to Wicks on the roster than Doubs. So, but I don't know if you get as much in return for him. And, he still has another year left on the contract also. So you got to sort of weigh all of it. And the beautiful thing about this is that Brian Gutekunst can basically afford to say, this is what I want. If you don't match it, I'll pass. You go look somewhere else. We're fine staying put, and let someone try to blow him away with an offer he can't refuse.
Dontavian Wicks seems like he'd be the most likely option. I agree with you. I just think Romeo Doubs could command a lot, and Brian Gutekunst could get greedy with that possibly. And
possibly.
If someone offers like a second round pick, like for Chase Claypool a few years ago, that's hard to turn down. I mean, that's really, in my opinion, Gil, that'd be a real. But I understand though, where it's like you're chasing a Super Bowl this year. You got a team that's good enough. Don't take away Love's most reliable receiver in the red zone. I'm with you there, but if you do move Dontavian Wicks, what's the least that you're asking for if a team is super interested?
I'd love a 3. That would be, again, I don't have to make any deal if I'm Brian Gutekunst. No. So impress me with your offer. That would be my attitude. I'm very happy with the team I've got. I will stand pat if I need to. If you don't want me to, make me an offer that I can't turn down.
Yeah, with Dontavian Wicks, I think if someone offered a 4th for him, I think I would take that. I think I would take a 4th, but 5th, that's a stretch.
No.
Yeah, but it's like 4th is probably where that'd be the okay. I like 4th.
And I do backflips if I got a 3.
Yeah. Oh, for sure, absolutely. So it's just going to be an interesting situation because it's going to become a numbers game at some point, and Dontavian Wicks looks like he could be the odd man out, and he hasn't really been healthy too. Is there a guy that you maybe want to trade for a depth piece? Because for me, Calais Campbell in Arizona makes a lot of sense. A guy who doesn't have a lot of money, and you may be able to get him for a 6th or 7th round pick, possibly from Arizona.
That's a possibility. I could see that. I mean, I looked at the available cornerbacks, and there was just nobody that jumped out to me.
Yeah.
That, you have a couple of slot guys. We have too many slot guys already. So, where are we going with it? Unless there's somebody who's going to be available that we are all overlooking, that nobody thinks right now will be available, I really don't see a particular target at corner, and that would be the position that I would be most focusing on if I had to add.
There's been a lot of talk and speculation about Miami unloading a lot of guys. They're in a bit of a struggle. They're probably gonna go into a rebuild pretty soon. But Devon Achane out of there would make a lot of sense in Green Bay. But I think his price tag is going to be a little too high, which is why I would probably say wait. But if you can get him for a day 3 pick at worst, or at best, or a round 4 pick, at worst, essentially, that's a deal maybe worth taking because Marshawn Lloyd, I feel like Josh Jacobs needs that explosive runner out of the backfield, that quick burst guy, and Marshawn Lloyd is supposed to be that guy. We may not see Marshawn Lloyd again this season. It doesn't sound promising what Matt LaFleur was talking about this week, which is just such a huge bummer for him. The guy just can't catch a break. Devon Achane could fill that need for a quick burst back out of the backfield if Miami's looking to unload. So that's an interesting situation. Also, potential dark horse, Gil, I'm just going to mention this before we move on with this episode. Mark Andrews from Baltimore, give them a call. Get a veteran tight end possibly, and he's buried on that depth chart right now. It's not a lot of money to get him, and he may only command a 6th or 7th round pick because Baltimore may look to unload him regardless, so they may just look to get a pick right now ahead of time. I
would do that for a 6th or a 7th at this point, yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of interesting scenarios. Obviously, we'll see if the Packers do or don't make it. They'll probably not make a deal, but hey, we said we didn't expect Micah Parsons to be a Green Bay Packer either. So Brian Gutekunst may just be going totally AWOL and going against everything that the Packers have done for years and years. But let's talk about that Packers injury report. Obviously, Marshawn Lloyd, the big news there, where it doesn't sound like he's coming back anytime soon. Just not very promising for a guy who only played, 6 snaps in his rookie season. Just a rough go so far for them, for Marshawn Lloyd and the Packers. DNPs so far this week includes Lucas Van Ness dealing with the foot issue that's kept him out for a couple games. Dontavian Wicks still dealing with that calf issue that lingered in camp. and also kept him out of the Pittsburgh game on Sunday. Linebacker Nick Neiman, special teams ace, dealing with a pectoral injury. Sounds like he's probably bound for the IR. It didn't sound very good.
No, it did not sound good at all.
It doesn't sound good. It doesn't sound good at all, according to Matt LaFleur. I think they're just waiting to put him on IR before they figure out what to do with his roster spot. And then here's another one to keep an eye on. Quay Walker was not listed on Wednesday with a calf injury. Did not practice on Thursday due to a calf issue. He's had a really good season, and not very good to see him listed on the injury report as of Thursday. Limited so far this week. Josh Jacobs still dealing with the calf. Zach Tom, not the oblique. It sounds like it's a back issue for Zach Tom. Christian Watson, obviously practicing a limited fashion, coming back from that knee injury. Devontae Wyatt did play on Sunday, dealing with the knee. Aaron Banks no longer dealing with the back or groin, but now a shin injury that's keeping him limited. Head, shoulders, knees, and toes with Aaron Banks, I tell you. Jordan Morgan was not listed on Wednesday, has an illness that he was limited with on Thursday. Then Malik Willis, an ankle injury in practice, suffered possibly on Wednesday. He was limited on Thursday. And then good news here, after practicing in a limited fashion on Wednesday, he practiced in full on Thursday. That's kicker Brandon McManus dealing with the right quad injury. Seemed like it was kind of bothering him on Sunday, again in Pittsburgh, but he practiced in full on Thursday. That's good news for him. So let's move on now. Let's go to the matchup skill. The Panthers offense against the Packers defense. Carolina this year, total offense, they are 20th overall. Green Bay's total defense, they are 6th in the league. Carolina's offense, 27th in scoring. They're one of 6 teams in the NFL this year, averaging fewer than 20 points per game. 29th in passing, 5th running the ball, though. Their running game has been so good this year. And then Green Bay defensively, 10th in scoring, 15th against the pass, and 3rd against the run. Gil, what's the matchup we got to look forward to watch? Because Carolina's got a darn good running game going right now.
Yeah, and that's where I have to start. Got to slow down Rico Dowdle. That has to be the first thing. And the front 7 is going to have to be on their toes. Now, the Packers are 3rd in the league in average yards allowed per game on the ground. So this is strength against strength. But the bottom line is, quite honestly, if you stop the running game, if you put the Panthers in 2nd and long, 3rd and long, they do not have the horses to beat you by throwing 40 times a game.
Yeah, Rico Dowdle has been just an absolute revelation for this Panthers offense. He was a 1,000-yard runner in Dallas last season, but he's really exploded onto the scene this year in his 5th year in the league. He's 5th in the NFL in rushing. He's 3rd in yards per carry behind only James Cook of Buffalo and Jonathan Taylor for running backs with at least 50 carries this season. 3 total touchdowns. The Carolina running backs are averaging about 4.6 yards per carry. That's 10th in the NFL. Green Bay's allowing opposing ball carriers to rush for 3.7 yards per carry. That's 4th in the NFL. So it's a bit of a strength versus strength matchup right here. But yeah, Rico Dowdle, I agree with you, Gil. That's number one. That's number one on the objective list for the Packer defense, is limiting him this week.
Yeah, and if Quay Walker can't go or is limited, that could be an issue because the speed of Edgerrin Cooper and Quay Walker is very important to the Packers defense at stopping the run and rushing the passer and in coverage, quite honestly.
And if they can load up and stop the run on defense, Gil, the matchup I'm looking forward to, it's the left tackle and right tackle for the Panthers, Ike Ekwonu, Taylor Moton against Micah Parsons and Rashawn Gary. Now, Carolina's O-line, they've been hanging around for the most part. They've allowed 19 sacks this season. It's tied for 14th most allowed in the NFL, so they're pretty much middle of the pack. Green Bay is 12th in the NFL in sacks this season, but Rashawn Gary has 7.5 sacks this year, 5th in the NFL. Parsons, 6.5 sacks this year. That's 6th in the league. Carolina's O-line, obviously very good run blocking. Pass protection, this is where they're a bit leaky and shaky, and they haven't faced a pass rushing duo like the Packers yet this season.
No, they haven't. And they're also not 100% healthy either, which does play into it. And I know we'll talk about their injuries a little bit later on. But this is a matchup that I think they really have to take advantage of. And I'll take it a step further. You have Devontae Wyatt in the middle, and Jeff Hafley loves to line up Micah Parsons right behind the nose tackle. So he'll pick a side off the snap of the ball. I want to see a lot more of that based on the injury report, where the Panthers' offensive line is. I want to see them set up some really advantageous matchups along that line.
And I think Parsons and Gary, too, are going to be really important, not only setting the edge in the run game, and Rashawn Gary's a very good run defender. Micah Parsons, I think, is a much better run defender than Jerry Jones may lead on. We've seen that multiple times. He actually plays the run pretty well. But they're going to be important just to keep Bryce Young in the pocket. And we're assuming Bryce Young does play. He's dealing with that ankle injury, but he's been practicing in full this week. He's probably going to go on Sunday. But they got to keep Bryce Young he's not a runner, but you got to keep him in the pocket for sure. So if they get the best of these tackles and you move Micah around, you move Rashawn Gary around, if anything, I like what Jeff Hatley's kind of done where he's kind of lined them up both of these guys on the same side.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, then you got to overload protection on one side. It's not a bad approach. I mean, this is what you get when you have elite rushers like these.
Yeah, when you have choices, when you have options. Rashawn Gary has 7.5 sacks. His career high is 9.5, and we're only 7 games into the season. So, and nothing against Rashawn Gary. He's playing really well, but the impact of Micah Parsons has opened up a lot of doors for him. Yeah,
so Gil, you and I, obviously, we're in firm agreement. You got to stop the run for the Panthers first and make Bryce Young try to beat you with the passing game.
Yep.
Easier said than done, but that's the recipe, in my opinion.
Yes.
Packers offense and the Panthers defense. Let's flip sides of the balls for both these teams. Green Bay on offense this year. They are the 7th ranked total offense. Carolina's defense, pretty solid in total defense, 11th overall in the league. Green Bay's scoring offense tied for 5th right now in the league. 7th in passing, 16th in rushing. Carolina's defense, 20th scoring, 10th against the pass, and 16th against the run. And Gil, I mean, we'll lead off right away where the guy that you got to obviously make sure you circle and you make sure you take care of first is that big boy on the D line for the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, you do have to take care of it. And I'm hoping that the Packers can. And it's going to be important to contain against Derek Brown. He is the closest thing. Look, their pass rush is nothing to write home about this year.
No.
They're near the bottom of the league, but Brown is the best, lineman that they've got. And they have got to be able to contain him. And if you do that, it opens up all kinds of possibilities.
And Derek Brown this year, the Carolina pass rush only has 13 sacks this season. That's 7th fewest in the NFL. Derek Brown has 3 of those to lead the team. He has 5 pass deflections on the D line too. That's 2nd on the team. So you gotta make sure you keep an eye on him, not only in pass pro when you're blocking, but Jordan Love's got to make sure he knows where he's lined up too, because he gets those big pair paws up, man, and he deflects a lot of passes. He's very aware of his surroundings. Like Derek Brown is a very good player. We've had the debate. We've talked about Derek Brown before when Kenny Clark was a Packer, where it's like, what kind of contract should Kenny Clark get? And Derek Brown was a good comparison. Derek Brown's a younger version of Kenny Clark. I don't know if he's better than Kenny Clark was at the time, but he's a darn good player. Kenny Clark is a darn good player too. But this is the one guy for Green Bay. If your game plan against Carolina defense, you got to make sure that big number 95 on Carolina's D-line does not take over this game. You got to take care of him, and then everything else should be able to take care of itself.
Yeah, I agree. That is the one lineman you are going to want to stop.
Yeah, and then I would say in the Panthers secondary, the guy that you got to obviously be aware of, Jordan Love saw Jalen Ramsey last week, who's still playing at a high level. Luckily, he had Darius Slay to pick on, though, on Sunday, because he's definitely past his prime, man. That guy is not what he used to be. But J.C. Horn for the Panthers, former top 10 pick for the Panthers at corner, terrific player. We talked all about Love, how great of a season he's having. He's put himself in the MVP discussions now. Horn this year, 3 interceptions on the season. That's tied for 3rd in the NFL, 3 pass deflections. And then opposite of him, though, is Mike Jackson, who has 9 pass deflections this year. That's tied for 4th in the league. Green Bay's receivers this year averaging about 11.9 yards per reception. That's tied for 2nd in the NFL. Carolina is allowing opposing receivers to catch about 10.8 yards per reception. That's tied for 18th in the league. But yeah, J.C. Horn is a guy that you don't want to really take a lot of chances throwing at, because he's a good ball player, Gil.
He is, but thankfully the Packers do have a lot of weapons, and they can spread the ball around. They can pick their matchups. They could scheme players open. You do want to stay away from J.C. Horn as much as possible, but I think if Jordan Love has time to throw, moving back to the first matchup that we mentioned, he will find some success against this secondary. It's a good secondary, although I think they're ranked a little higher because teams are always ahead against them, and so they run the ball more often.
I will say with the Panthers, though, they to put it bluntly, they've been a bit of a dumpster fire the previous few years.
Yes.
They're a much better team now. They've
made it to average.
Yeah, they are trending in the right direction for sure. Obviously, we want to give them a bit of a reality check coming up on Sunday, though. That would be very nice for us Packer fans. Let's go over some stats and figures real quick before we get to some predictions and then some trivia. Turnover ratio this season, the Packers +1 on the season. Panthers are -5. Now, Green Bay, they don't give away the ball very often. Only 3 giveaways this year. That's tied with Philly for the fewest giveaways in the NFL, but only 4 takeaways right now, and that's tied for Baltimore for the second fewest in the NFL. And then the Panthers, they give the ball away a lot, 12 giveaways this season. Penalties, this is where the discipline for Carolina really is starting to be a factor. Dave Canales really doing a nice job with the Panthers rebuilding this team. Green Bay is the 10th most penalized team in the NFL right now. Carolina is tied for the 8th fewest when it comes to penalties this season. Third downs, Green Bay's offense, they are second in the league at 48.3%. Defensively, 34%, tied for 4th in the NFL. They were terrific in third down situations against Pittsburgh on Sunday. Carolina's offense, 23rd in third down, 25th on defense. And then red zone touchdown percentage, Green Bay's offense, 70% in the red zone. That's 7th in the league. 63.2% on defense. That's tied for 21st. Carolina's offense, 14th in the league in red zone touchdown percentage, and their defense is 13th in the league right now. And then real quick, Gil, let's get to the Panthers injury report. Not practicing so far this week includes offensive tackle Brady Christensen, linebacker Princely Umenmilen, center Cade Mays. I almost said catcher because I'm thinking World Series. And wide receiver Xavier Legette, their first-round pick from a couple years ago. He was not listed on Wednesday, dealing with an illness, and did not practice Thursday. Limited so far this week includes backup quarterback Andy Dalton, offensive guard Damian Lewis, offensive tackle Taylor Moton, safety Nick Scott, and linebacker Trevin Wallace. And then full participants, quarterback Bryce Young, defensive tackle Derek Brown, offensive guard Chandler Zavala, and wide receiver Jimmy Horn Jr. And a few notable names on the IR and the PUP list right now for the Panthers: running back Jonathan Brooks, offensive guard Robert Hunt, former Viking linebacker Patrick Jones II, and former Packer wide receiver David Moore. He used to return some kicks to the Packers back in the day. Gil, why does Green Bay win on Sunday?
Green Bay wins on Sunday if they do not turn the ball over excessively and they do not take the Panthers lightly.
Yeah, I agree there. I think if they win, they take care of business. They play good fundamental football, and they get a lot of juice playing in front of the home fans at Lambeau Field. Why does Green Bay lose?
Green Bay loses if they are careless, if they commit too many penalties, if they turn the ball over, and if they just don't take this game seriously enough. And I'll tell you now, the Panthers are not a team you can overlook. They're not elite, but they're not the dumpster fire that they were the last couple of years. They can sneak up on you, and if the Packers take them lightly, they will pay a price.
If Green Bay loses between Rico Dowdle, J.C. Horn, and Derek Brown, if 2 of those 3 dominate the game, Packers will not win this game on Sunday. So you can't take these guys lightly for sure. They're a much better team than they have been in the previous few years. Gil, what's your prediction for Sunday?
Are we going to match again?
We're not. Not quite. Not quite.
Okay. I think the Packers will win this one fairly comfortably. Green Bay 34, Carolina 17.
Well, Gil, I'm with you where I think the Packers allow 17 points on defense, but I got to go back to the magic number, 27, man. 27. The Packers win this game, but they win 27-17. They've 4 of their 5 wins, they've scored 27 points. I think they're going to make 5 of 6. It just makes a lot of sense. So yeah, Packers 27, Panthers 17. I think they take care of business and don't take these guys lightly at all coming up on Sunday. Gil, what articles do you have coming up on the Packers Post at Cheesehead TV?
Well, over on Packers Post, I talked about the running game and the need to improve it, something that Matt LaFleur admitted. I also did a piece on 5 Packers who have a big impact on their teammates on the field. And over at Cheesehead, ironically, I talked about Quay Walker needs an extension. He's playing really, really well. I just hope he is healthy and ready to go Sunday.
I hope that calf issue doesn't linger. It seems like calves are the new hamstrings this year. Dontavian Wicks dealing with the calf issue. Josh Jacobs dealing with the calf issue. Now Quay Walker, where it's like, the heck, man? Calf issues aren't contagious. I don't know who knows what's going on. Different strength staff. So, yeah, calf issues are the main issue. But, Gil, how about some trivia? How's that sound?
Always sounds good.
All right. Sounds good. Well, as noted earlier in this episode, Jordan Love made Packers history on Sunday. He tied Hall of Famer Brett Favre with Favre's protege and Love's mentor, Aaron Rodgers, watching by completing 20 consecutive passing attempts against the Steelers on Sunday. Love was able to connect with 9 different Packers during that streak. Players who caught passes during Love's streak were Tucker Kraft, Romeo Doubs, Matthew Golden, Christian Watson, Josh Jacobs, Emmanuel Wilson, Savion Williams for his first career touchdown, Luke Musgrave, and Malik Heath. Now, Favre's record stood alone when he completed 20 straight passes in a 37-26 win at Detroit during his final season with the Packers in November of 2007. Gil, how many different Packers caught a pass during Favre's completion streak at Detroit in 2007, and can you name them?
Can I name them? Okay. Oh, boy. 2007, I got to start with Donald Driver then.
Yep, there's one. Well, how many? Yeah. Well, let's talk it over, and then you can give me a number, what you think it is.
Okay. If I'm going 2007, you got to go Driver, James Jones, Greg Jennings. Those would be the big 3.
Good start.
Gosh. The running back that year would probably be Ryan Grant.
There you go.
Donald Lee as a tight end.
That's a good one. Yeah, that was a tough one. These last 2 are not going to be easy. And I will say I'm sorry, I just gave it away. So it's 7 different receivers, but I want to see now if it's 7 different players, but I want to see if you get the last 2. One of them caught a touchdown during this streak.
Oh, okay. I'm going to go Reuvel Martin.
Oh, you dynamo, man. Yeah, Reuvel Martin. He caught a touchdown during that streak. Yeah. Can you name the last one? Because this is a tough one. If you could pull this one out of the hat, man, this is a good one.
Boy.
He was buried on the depth chart as a receiver. Okay, you got 6 of 7. That's pretty good.
Okay.
So it was 7, and it was Donald Driver, Greg Jennings, James Jones, Ryan Grant, Reuvel Martin, Donald Lee, and Corin Robinson.
Oh, wow.
Corin Robinson, a very talented guy who was the number 5 receiver essentially on that team in 2007, a very deep receiving group in general. Jennings had the other touchdown during that streak besides Reuvel Martin, and Favre finished that game, completed 31 of 41 passes for 381 yards and threw 3 touchdowns. But unlike Jordan Love, he actually had a fumble that he lost in that game. So Jordan Love probably played a cleaner game overall than Brett Favre. I think his passer rating was just a tick higher too than Brett Favre in this game. But yeah, how about that? Where it's like, you couldn't write that any better, where Aaron Rodgers was in attendance. Aaron Rodgers was there to see Jordan Love have probably the best regular season game of his career. I would say the second best game overall to the Dallas playoff game a couple of years ago. Yeah.
And nice to see him rise to the occasion on national TV and to show up his mentor a little bit.
Man, he was awesome. So hopefully the Packers, they got a little streak going. Hopefully they can keep winning games coming up. Hopefully they can take care of the Panthers first on Sunday. The 4-4 Panthers playing against the 5-1-1 Packers. Noon kickoff from Lambeau Field. What is that? That's 11:45 Lombardi time. So yeah, let's hope they can get some home cooking going. It's going to be nice to be back in front of the home crowd there for the Packers, and let's get to 6-1-1, Gil.
Yeah, that is the next step. Looking forward to it, and we are this will be the halfway mark of the season after this game. So and
then you got Philly coming up. You got a lot of division games coming up.
It gets harder.
It's going to get a lot harder, but hey, I think this team's ready. But we got to take care of Carolina first and foremost.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that is going to do it for today. We'll be right back here next week. Follow us on Twitter update on all things Packers or to ask us questions. You could also email us at gbpackerssean@gmail.com. Make sure you're subscribed to Packers Talk on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Big thanks to PackersTalk.com for powering our show. Thank you for listening. Until next time, go Pack Go.
Go Pack Go.